What is rule and governance? I ask this question because of the state of our political system, the state of our socio-religious and ethical thinking, which, if it continues its current path, will fundamentally change the construct of existence on the planet. Just because a person holds public office or has wealth or is known in a broad social platform doesn't mean they are powerful or have the right to dictate rule or governance. This is changing the dialogue. Over 200 years ago, this nation was formed by men who wrote a document to declare their independence from a ruler across the sea. Shortly after that, another Confederate document was written to hold that Confederacy together and what had been created. When this document was found wanting, another document was written, a Constitution. What is a Constitution? What does the word mean, and why is it used for this document? Why is the United States of America a constitutional republic instead of a democratic republic? What do we know? Before the United States of America, the majority of nations in the world were ruled by monarchs or forms of a ruling class. These people set the standard of existence for their nations, and all under them would be subject to their edicts. We have had laws in nations for thousands of years, but laws were at the discretion of the rulers. In the 5th and 6th century BCE, there were two forms of government that would shape the modern Western world. These were the city-states of Greece, especially Athens and Rome. We have known that in these nations or kingdoms, men and women were subjects of the ruler, whether the ruler was a person or laws. We see people being subject to a ruling class. What gives an individual or group of individuals the right to rule? How has this been decided by men? Why have men and women been subject to other men in this earth? Where is this rule given to men, and by what authority? If we have subjected men to the rule of a class of men, and today a class of women as well, what is the objective? Is there an objective concept that directs these rulers that gives them the ability to set a standard of existence in the earth? For thousands of years, we have seen many different standards of rule in the earth. How many kings have sat in man-made chairs and opulent palaces? Why has there been so many different ideas of rule? Whether we can answer this question or not, the mass of people are made subject to this rule. Mankind has been on the earth for thousands of years. Why is there no objective form of rule? How many philosophical thinkers have presented different forms of rule, and is it objective or subjective? In the United States of America, the Constitution was put in place to become an objective form of rule. Did the framers of this document believe that all men are equal as men? We are different, but do those differences not make us all mankind, or humankind if you prefer? The one thing that sits within this Constitution that has become increasingly untenable is in the preceding document. The framers declared to the ruler of England that all men are endowed with certain inalienable rights. The problem is, who has endowed men with these rights? One thing has been abundantly clear to me in my study of the history of the United States. Many of the men who were involved in this formation held to Christian religion in some form. Many Protestant. This is why many people came to the Americas. They wanted to escape the war of the Papists and the Protestants in Europe. But one thing is for certain, the government was set in place without the establishment of religion. The Creator that Thomas Jefferson wrote into this declaration was subject to your interpretation of the Creator, as it was with Jefferson himself. Mr. Jefferson was an Enlightenment thinker, and he himself took out the miracles of Jesus and the resurrection from the Bible of what he called the Jefferson Bible. Men like Thomas Paine, who was another Enlightenment thinker and major player in the formation of the U.S. Paine, a deist, believing in a creator, but after creation, the creator has left man to figure it out for himself. From that time until now, the governments of the world have left the rule of monarchs. But what has become the rule today? I believe there has been no progression in understanding the rule. We have seen nation against nation, this idea versus that ideal, nations crumbling, and governments reshaping their ideology. Why? What is a rule? Who decides the rule? Why do we have rules but do not follow them? Why do we want to change rules? Why do guardians of the rules throughout the history of the world believe they do not apply to them? In the U.S., we say equal justice under law. What happens when the object of the rules no longer matters? When the rule of law written on a piece of parchment becomes antiquated thinking. Jefferson, Adams, and Franklin are all dead. Lincoln, Roosevelt, Kennedy, Reagan, all dead. What is at issue here? A document? Not at all. It is the ideals of men and their attempt to determine their own existence. They have been endeavoring for centuries to bring all men subject to one idea or belief of existence. We stand at that moment today, and while we continue to argue as if we had any real power, the men who are creating the rule for all are setting the stage for an age of mankind that they have determined. If you will not be subject to that idea of existence, you will have no place in this new world. This is a world without Jehovah or Jesus. This is a world without any forms of old religious beliefs. There is no room for wars over gods or the strength of gods. The document we call the Constitution of the United States has ushered in this opportunity. It gave men power and ability to divorce themselves from religion or God and government. The fulfillment of Enlightenment thinking and giving rise to the focus on humankind. The rule no longer coming from the objective concept of our Creator, but now subject only to mankind and his ideas of law, justice, and equality. This is Changing the Dialogue. My name is Brian French. Always remember to give love, give life, and give Jesus.